Hi. So, my name is Mildred, and I'm 17 years old. I came here to learn how to appreciate my body for what it is, and to learn how to be healthy again. I've learned a lot at my time here in rehab, from what I've observed on my own, from what I've been taught, and from what I've researched. I stumbled across a school of philosophy known as empiricism, which says that all of our knowledge is ultimately based off of perceptual experiences. Before I began starving myself to get thinner, I loved shopping, going out, and buying clothes for myself to make myself feel beautiful. Unfortunately, I stopped feeling beautiful when I started realizing that nobody else was considered beautiful or pretty by worldly standards was wearing the same sizes as me. I wanted to dress like the models on the runway, fashionistas in the magazines, and movie stars on TV. But when I found those pretty clothes like they were wearing, none of them were in my size. The only things that I could find in my size were ugly, and on the rare occasion that I found something cute that actually covered up all my skin, I found that it was unflattering. Baggy in places it shouldn't have been, tighter in others. It made me feel nothing like all those other girls looked. Sometimes when I found clothes that I actually liked in sizes that actually fit me, they were pricier than the same garments in smaller sizes. When I looked around the stores I was at, none of the models on the walls portraying these clothes were my size or anywhere near my size. Girls like me couldn't be beautiful, and it didn't seem fair. I knew that this was a reality and not just appearance because my insecurity was confirmed by my other senses. The fact that I could feel the clothes not fitting I knew the way they were supposed to, by coherence, seeing that my body type didn't fit in with my overall experience of the idea of beauty, and by independent testimony, witnessing how the other people of my society considered the reality of beauty. What struck me most about my culture was that we were being groomed to believe that the only beautiful was skinny. Something I learned was that in everyday life, we are constantly making contextual judgments without being consciously aware of it. I realized that people were judging me based off of this paradigm skinny is beautiful, and that I'd suddenly been confronted with the idea that I'd thought that I was beautiful, but all this time I'd been wrong. We as humans need belief. I read about something very interesting called self shock and suddenly realized what I was going through. I'd experienced cognitive dissonance, and I realized that something I'd thought to be an absolute truth wasn't. For a while, I tried to ignore the evidence. I tried to hold on to the fact that I knew I was beautiful, but I'd suddenly lost trust in everything else I believed in, and I was going through self shock. Sadly, I wasn't able to hold on to my original belief for very long, and I started trying to starve myself to become skinny so I could be beautiful, and ultimately restore my belief in the world. Something important we learn here in rehab is that we need to agree with and come to terms with the fact that we are beautiful, no matter our weight, as long as we're healthy. In fact, oftentimes, skinny and healthy don't even necessarily equate. Certainly not the skinny we see plastered all over the fashion world. We learn that belief bias is the tendency we have to believe that an argument is valid simply because we agree with the conclusion. That was the worst part about facing my anorexia. I had to come to terms with the idea that society had pushed me into agreeing with the idea that the only beautiful was skinny, and that people in society weren't the only ones who believed I couldn't be beautiful because I wasn't the ideal weight, but that I believed it too. In rehab, they teach us that just because I agree with a conclusion doesn't mean that the argument for it is a good one. In fact, I was falling prey to the fallacy of post hoc ergo propter hoc, because I believed that because all the models and TV stars and women that were considered beautiful were skinny, meaning that the only way a woman could be beautiful was if she was skinny, meaning that I could never be beautiful because I wasn't skinny, and that my fatness caused me to not be beautiful. Now I know that this is a fallacy of informal reasoning, and that doesn't mean that this conclusion is a truth. Society has our youth so twisted into this false paradigm of beauty that it's causing irrational behavior, like me starving myself to be beautiful, and people rationalizing their pre existing prejudices, such as claiming that skinny is beautiful because being fat equates itself with laziness and unhealthiness, thus meaning skinny must be healthy, must be beautiful. I realize that you have to look at beauty through a different kind of lens, through different perspectives, angles, facets. You have to ignore all the false paradigms, fallacies of knowledge, and general wrongness that society throws at you. A group of philosophers known as the Stoics advocated a state of mind called apathy, in which the mind could mirror reality in a calm and untroubled way. While the Stoics' apathy means literally without passion, and that might be a little extreme, perhaps it would do our society some good to set aside emotion, prejudice, bias, and look at beauty in our world in a balanced and objective way. Here in rehab, I've learned to overcome the negative body image ideas thrown at me by society, and I've learned to love my body for the way it is, healthy and not a size 0.